Hey, it's Coach Anderson here again from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online, U.S. History from 1877 to present. We've been looking at Unit 10, World War II, Part 2. It's more of an American perspective in terms of looking at our involvement in World War II. We're going to start with Lesson 9 today, and it's the defeat of the Axis powers. What we're going to do, of course, is give you the unit focus question, and we always do, and we tell you that the idea of the unit focus question is to focus your train of thought as we navigate through the lessons involved in this particular unit. The question is, how did efforts to prevent World War II fail, and how did the home front effort bolster American success in World War II? And we'll get to the answer to those at the end of the unit. Today we have the vocabulary, academic vocabulary, and the content vocabulary. You can remember what we always tell you, go ahead and write those terms down and define them yourself. And as we see them, of course, as they come up in the lesson, we'll try to address them as much as we can. We're going to start with two lesson focus questions, of course, for Lesson 9, the defeat of the Axis powers. What was the last great offensive led by the U.S. that signaled the defeat of Germany? And what was President Truman's rationale for dropping the atomic bomb on Japan? So with that, we're going to jump in with the do now activity. And the do now activity is, once again, take out your journals and write down the following statement or question. Should a president consider the welfare of enemy citizens when making decisions to protect American soldiers during times of war? So with that, we'll give you a few minutes and let you contemplate and answer, and we'll come back and tell you what we think. Okay, you should have had enough time that you were able, of course, to formulate your opinion in terms of what you think regarding this particular do now activity. And it says, should a president consider the welfare of enemy citizens when making decisions to protect American soldiers during times of war? I think if you're president of the United States of America, your first responsibility, of course, is to American citizens and American soldiers. So in the event that American soldiers, of course, in my mind, are in harm's way, it should always be America for Americans first. Now, if that means that the United States of America has to do some things, of course, that it might not ordinarily do, to protect American lives, then that's what probably should happen. Now, I would dare say that most Americans, of course, kind of feel the same way. Even though, the United States of America is a great nation, and because of that status that we've given, there's a great amount of course, of responsibility we have, but we also have a huge amount of responsibility in the world, of course, to other nations, but we have a huge responsibility, of course, to American citizens and American soldiers also. And that kind of gives you a prelude in terms of looking at what Truman decides to do at the end of the war when it comes to the Japanese. The final defeat of Germany. The defeat of Germany at the Battle of the Bulge by Patton revealed that the German defeat was imminent. It was going to happen. It was an eventuality. The Allies proceeded east from Belgium and made their way to Berlin, and the Soviets made their way west from Russia. By April 1945, American, British, and Soviet troops were outside of Berlin. April 30th, 1945, Hitler committed suicide, and May 8th, 1945, VE Day, the Germans surrendered. April 12th, 1945, FDR dies of a stroke, and Harry Truman becomes president. He navigates the end of World War II for America. He's put in a position, of course, where he has to make some real monumental decisions regarding the war effort after the death, of course, of FDR. American victories at Iwo Jima and Okinawa gave America jumping off bases for the bombing of Tokyo to open a ground invasion of Japan. The feeling was that such an action would cost America thousands of casualties. And that's one of the things that Truman, of course, had to weigh in his mind in terms of making a decision that no one person should have to make, but he does have to make. The idea of mass casualty influenced Truman's rationale to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What Truman believed is that it would be too costly in terms of American soldiers and casualties if there was a ground invasion of the Japanese. Now, we have to remember the Japanese, of course, were using kamikaze attacks at Leyte Gulf, and we know that they didn't mind, of course, dying. The soldiers didn't mind dying. So what Truman comes up with is the idea of using this newfangled weapon called the atomic weapon or atomic bomb, and he uses that atomic bomb on two places, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were not the most populated places or cities, of course, in Japan. We could have dropped it on Tokyo, where hundreds of thousands, of course, could have been killed. August 15, 1945, the Japanese surrendered, ending World War II. Here's a picture of Harry Truman, whose shoulders, of course, that it fell on, of course, to make these great decisions about the dropping of the atomic bomb. Here's a picture of the Enola Gay. The Enola Gay was the bomber that was used to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Here's some pictures of some of the devastation. You have Hiroshima on the left side of the screen, and you have Nagasaki on the right side of the screen. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot left after these, of course, bombs, of course, are dropped. Over 100,000 are killed in Hiroshima, and I think a little over 80,000 or so were killed in Nagasaki. And that's including the bomb blast, of course, and then a little bit later, the fallout, of course, from radiation. The effects of World War II. Europe lay in ruins, 25 million casualties, 6 million Jews killed by the Nazis. Colonial empires of Britain, France, and the Netherlands were broken up. The nation of Israel was created because of what had happened, of course, with the Jews. The nuclear age is created with the threat of atomic weapons, and the Soviet Union and the United States emerged as superpowers and enemies, starting the Cold War. Here, what we want you to do, of course, is we have another activity we would like for you to complete. We need to take about 20 minutes or so and complete the bubble map, and it says factors that led to the end of World War II. And so what we want you to do, of course, is go through and identify 6 things, of course, that led to the eventual end of World War II. Once again, we won't answer these for you, but we do have a reference slide at the end of this particular unit where you can go to, of course, and look and see what those answers are. Lesson focus questions for Lesson 9, the defeat of the Axis powers. This is what was the last great offensive led by the United States that signaled the defeat of Germany? Well, that answer is very simple. It was the Battle of the Bulge, of course, with George Patton leading the way. So the Battle of the Bulge was the last serious German offensive to repel Allied advances. The battle cost Germany over 100,000 casualties, which crippled their army. And it is not a stretch to tell you that some of those Hitler youth who were 15, 16 years of age, at this particular time, they were, being brought in from everywhere to fight for the German cause. What was President Truman's rationale for dropping the atomic bomb on Japan? Truman believed that an invasion of Japan would cost too many American lives, and the Japanese resilience has shown that even after losing battles at Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and Leyte Gulf, they were formidable, and they wouldn't unconditionally surrender. And in the minds of FDR, in the minds of Truman, what was needed was the unconditional surrender of Germany and the unconditional surrender of Japan. All right, that's the end of Lesson 9, the defeat of the Axis powers. What we want you to do, of course, is to not take my word for it, as I tell you all the time. Go ahead and do your own research, because it's America's history. That means it's your history, which means that you should be able to do your own research and draw your own conclusions. And with that, we will see you next time. This is Coach Anderson from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online, U.S. History from 1877 to present. We'll see you next time.